I've got an idea!
What is up, YouTube? McIntyre here. Today, I'm going to be working with HeroesHearth to bring you guys a new Junkrat rework that was just added to the PTR on September 16th, 2019. A lot of things have changed with the character. Honestly, they moved a ton of talents around, and I wanted to talk about a few of them that I liked, where I think the character is going, and what Blizzard's logic was behind all of this rework with this new character, in my opinion. So as we can see, the basic attack damage and grenade launcher damage was both nerfed. We'll see a few talents that kind of buff that damage to adjust for that, but I think that they don't want the character to just sit back and throw Qs at max range. Before, I think this change, a lot of his kit was, let me stand as far away as I can, let me press my Q button as many times as possible, and just not get killed. So now what they've done is introduce a few new talents to his early game. They've kept his in-game fairly similar, and we're seeing now a character that has more impact in a fight via CC or some sort of buff to his team in the early game fights to allow him to get picks then, and then transition more into the deal damage with grenades from afar while also having utility in his kit. Looking at his talents here today, our build that we're going to be focusing on is the Concussion Mine, starting at level 1 with the new talent Blow 'em Up. This is every time you catch an enemy hero with your Concussion Mine or Steel Trap, you increase the damage of both your basic attacks and basic abilities for 6 seconds on the target. This is kind of suggesting that if we want to deal big damage, that we need to hit the enemy team with our Concussion Mine or our trap, and thus we need to aggressively position for that, right? If we want that reward, we have to position for it. I think this is a great talent when it comes to following up a tank. I think as Junkrat, a lot of the times you see players don't follow the tank up, they might just instead stay back and try to do a little bit of damage here or there. We might see more damage coming out of Junkrat because of this, right? If we have our Steel Trap laid down and Garrosh throws them in, we'll see a bunch of damage there, or an ETC slide followed up by a Concussion Mine, which was already a very powerful tool, but now you're getting rewarded for it. And as this build continues, we'll see a lot more damage coming out of his abilities when things happen. So this is a good start to that as we continue to transition down to the level 4 talents. At level 4, we now are given Boom Pow, which was a level 20 talent before, now moved down to level 4. And I don't know about you guys, but I feel like if we get a 20 talent at level 4, it'd be silly not to take it. What this talent does is it reduces the cooldown of your W by 8 seconds when you hit an enemy hero. They did nerf it from 12 to 8, but we do see a half CD every time you land your Concussion Mine on the enemy. So this is a really, really powerful tool. Again, you're not so punished by using it now with this ability, right? If you throw it out, you hit someone 8 seconds, you can then throw another one either to knock yourself away or to knock someone again back into you. Obviously, when you land this too, you're going to get the 25% increase damage on that hero. So keep that in mind as you aggress towards the enemy. At level 7, we are going to take Bogged Down. This is a talent move down from 13 to 7. So again, pushing talents to the early game, kind of give Junk a little more punch in the early game instead of just being a wave clear monster. What this does is it slows the enemy by 40% for 2.5 seconds. The 2.5 seconds of slow is not a joke. It really can put a damper on your gameplay and allow for you as Junkrat to land more of your grenades. It becomes easier to land grenades. It becomes easier for your whole team to land abilities. Again, now we have CC on a talent tier that makes sense rather than taking away a talent like Ripper Air that we used to get at level 13, where it was something that we just always took on Junk, because why would you ever throw your mine at the enemy? All it's going to do is do some damage, and then you don't have mine for 16 seconds. It's not the case anymore. We throw our mine, we slow them, we then have our mine back up in 8 seconds. So definitely a big power spike here at level 7 for Junkrat, for both you and your teammates. The last talent that I really want to bring up that I think is going to help Junkrat out a ton when it comes to being aggressive and following up is Bombs Away. This is a talent that increases Junkrat's basic attack range by 1 So it's going to be safer to poke with auto attacks. You'll be able to space a little bit better between, let's say, you and an ETC. Whereas prior, without this talent, you might get hit by a slide at max range. But with this talent, you're going to have just enough gap between you and him that he's not going to be able to connect that slide on you. Basically what this reads is you get the increased range by 1, but if you follow up your autos with a grenade, the grenade deals 25% more damage. So now we're seeing even more damage percentage increased as we do things. So let's say we land the concussion mine, we then are weaving auto grenade. Those are all increased by 25%, and then an additional 25 here if we weave correctly. We're going to just have a lot of good sustained damage from Junkrat, and that's not just going to be from his grenade launcher. We're going to see it from his auto attacks coming into play and then bringing that utility with his bombs. Obviously, we won't get the talent that allows you to run away at 13 that, you know, we've lived with and played with, but we are going to have more damage. We are going to be a little more consistent on that damage in the early to mid game. I guess this is mid to late now at this point. So definitely a good addition, I think. The Junkrat's auto attack range was a little funky, and giving him that increased 1 will help a ton, I think, when it comes to spacing and team fights. At level 16, I do think that this build does transition exactly the way the old one does, where we take the endless grenades, reducing the cooldown of our grenades by 1.5 per enemy hero hit. And the reason for this is just, you know, more grenades is more damage. And now that we have this 13 talent that's going to increase our grenade damage every time we auto attack, why wouldn't we want to be shooting as many as possible, right? Cannonball at 20 is almost always the go-to, just because it allows those grenades to splash even more. It's going to allow your basic attacks to splash even more, right? Those are going to be safer. You're going to be shooting further away. Maybe you're hitting the original target that you knocked, and then there's a person beside of them that getting a splash damage. It just kind of scales so nicely with the level 16 endless nades. However, there are new choices at 20 that you can consider. At level 20, we have extra oomph, which was a talent prior, but now we're getting an additional 5 second per enemy hero hit, which means if we hit 3 heroes with our Riptire, we immediately have a second Riptire to cast. This can go on for 2 to 3 Riptires depending on how grouped the enemy team is, and I think against a clumsy death ball type composition on a map such as Volskaya or Cursed Hollow, where teams tend to group, this could be a really powerful talent. I know before you'd hit 3 targets and you'd wait 5-10 seconds and then you'd get to cast it again. Now there's no wait. It's Riptire into Riptire into Riptire, as long as the enemy team continues to group 3 people for you. So I think extra oomph is something that we can consider depending on if you need that extra oomph. Obviously Cannonball is going to give you great sustained damage, but for me, extra oomph is exactly that, the extra oomph if your team needs that big push of damage over and over again against the enemy team. The second level 20 talent that I think can be used in a different type of build, but definitely a cool talent to talk about, is Puckish Scamp. Essentially, when you Rocket Ride, your Rocket Ride then becomes Riptire. And then when you Riptire, your Riptire becomes Rocket Ride. And the cool part about this is that they are both on different CDs. So this means that it's possible to change the CD to Riptire, have Riptire as your heroic even though you've taken Rocket Ride, and then Riptire in a fight. Now your heroic becomes Rocket Ride, and then you can Rocket Ride in and maybe get a kill that way, right? So it's just giving you 2 different heroics on their own cooldowns, right? It's just more damage. I think that we could see this taken. It's not terrible. It definitely gives more incentive to take Rocket Ride, as Rocket Ride was one of those abilities that was difficult to hit, and now we see an increase in both movement speed when you use the ability and damage that it deals on impact. So in cases where you're getting dove and you need to dodge the Tracer Bomb, Rocket Ride can be your go-to, just on the sole fact that you dodge, you deal the damage, you come back, you have Riptire up, and now you're ready to fight again in a newly fleshed out form. Interesting change for his level 20, but overall, I do think that this character is going to see a lot more early game pressure and bring more to a fight in the early game, right? Before it just felt grenades was your thing and standing back as far as possible was what you wanted to be doing, but now you really want to be looking to just poke with the W. There's no mana cost on Junkrat, and I think that that's one thing that a lot of people forget about. Using your concussion mine and using your steel trap, that costs nothing. It's free of charge. So there's absolutely no reason not to be spamming these abilities in the early game, and now we're incentivized to do so, because if they connect, then we're going to get damage increase, right? And we're going to get slows, we're going to get silences on traps, we're going to get increased damage or marks on there's so many new talents now that are pushing for him to use his abilities outside of his grenade, and I think that that's very cool for the character and something that I've enjoyed seeing. I will say that I wish that the concussion mine CD had stayed the 12 seconds instead of the 8. I think that even 10 maybe would have been good, giving us a 6-second cooldown concussion mine, but I like the way in the direction that that these changes are going, and I think that he'll be a lot more fun for a lot of characters, as there are things that you can do now as him to increase those damage numbers, right? To really feel effective and impactful in team fights. And for that, I applaud Blizzard. So I like this direction a lot. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and the breakdown of these new concussion mine builds. There is a trap build out there. So what I wanted to see from you guys in the comment section below is, what is the steel trap build for Junkrat? What do you guys think it is? Where does it go? Is it built around your grenades? Is it built around your ultimates? You know, is Rocket Ride essential for that build? I want to see what you guys think in the comment section below. Again, thank you all so much. Until the next time, I hope you go and kaboom your way to victory. I'll see you guys.